The difference between EPSPs and ISPs. First, an excitatory postsynaptic potential, a kind of graded potential, results from chemically gated ion channels letting sodium ions into the cell and potassium ions out, both at the same time. And this ion change causes the synaptic membrane to experience a depolarization that spawns these EPSPs, which travel to the neuron's initial segment. And the goal of these is to help create an action potential at the axon. And in contrast, the other graded potentials, known as inhibitory postsynaptic potentials, they result in neurotransmitters latch onto synapses that cause certain channels to let potassium ions out of the cell and chloride ions in. And this ion change causes an increase in the membrane potential called hyperpolarization, which initiates the IPSPs. And these potentials make it harder for an action potential to activate at the postsynaptic neuron's axon, and that's their goal, is to make it harder for an action potential to take place. So all in all, the difference between the two centers around the fact that one is excitatory, stemming from depolarization, and the other is inhibitory, stemming from hyperpolarization. So one helps an axon spawn an AP, the other makes it harder to achieve one. And number two, it's determined by whether the neurotransmitter binds to an excitatory or inhibitory synapse. By whether you're dealing with inhibitory or excitatory neurotransmitters, and it's determined by which chemically gated channels are activated, one that causes a change in sodium and potassium ion permeability and thus depolarization, or one that causes a change in potassium and chloride ion permeability and thus hyperpolarization. And number three, it's determined by the neuron taking stock of the graded potentials and determining whether to fire it. It does this through summation, and there are two kinds. There's temporal summation, and this is, for example, when EPSPs are received in a rapid fire way and added together, causing the graded potentials to reach an AP level threshold. The other one is called spatial summation. This involves graded potentials hitting the neuron at the same moment, but from various spots in the neuron. And the final step centers around the neuron's initial segment, taking into account all the potentials, and if they rise to the level of threshold, an AP will take place, and if they don't rise to the threshold level, an AP won't take place.